Hey everybody, it's James Vagley here. Welcome to another episode of the MBA podcast, and it's episode 208. Ash, 208. I don't know if that's your favorite number or my favorite number or our listeners' favorite number, but it's a big number. How you doing?
Good as any other number. It's my favourite number this week. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going great, James. Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, listeners, hopefully you're good too. Today we're talking about getting off the tools. Uh, this month in October, we're talking about drive growth. So all about, well, driving growth, driving the business building stuff. So today we're talking about getting off the tools. And I reckon this is a big one, Ash. When it comes to driving growth, I mean, let's think about it. You can't drive serious growth in a business if you're part of the machine. That's probably my big right downer for our listeners. You cannot drive growth if you're part of the machine. Now, last week, our listeners would know that we talked about profitable business models, and there's that supported broker model where you essentially build a support team to allow you to do the stuff you're best at more and more and more. If we think about that option from last week, Ash, which I'm not discounting as a great option, but if we think about it, you're in the middle of the machine. And yes, you have a great support team, really efficient, cranking out big numbers. Well, you don't have time to drive the growth of that business because you are the machine. You're actually spending all your time drumming up clients and helping clients. So you're never going to get off the tools. So maybe, I don't know where you'd like to start, but I think a lot of brokers find it very hard to get off the tools, either the mindset of getting off the tools or the skill set to actually stop writing loans. It's kind of rare. So I don't know where you'd like to start with this one.
Yeah. Well, a few things off the back of what you said there, James, and it is a big one. I mean, maybe the question is back one step, and the question should be, I want to get off the tools so I can blank. So maybe the question that needs to be looked at is, well, okay, why do you want to get off the tools? Right? Now, because I don't like part of the loan process, or I want to grow a bigger business, or I want some of my time back. The question still remains, well, why? So you can do what with that time? So I personally believe there's a more fundamental question that I think emerges from this, and I'd like to put it out there. Right? And the question is this, or the choice is this, fork in the road, is one direction has a limit on how much you can grow your business. Right? When you're in the machine, whether it's a supported broker model or elsewise, you can make money and you can have a good life enough, but it's got a cap on its growth, right? Because you're in the machine. So unless you intend to work 30 hours a day, you can't grow past a certain point. The other fork in the road, getting off the tools, opens up this thinking that I now have no limit on my growth. Right? I've just got to get the model right, the systems and processes and procedures right, and the lead flow right, and I can continue to grow and keep scaling in perpetuity. Right? Because it shouldn't take any more hours of my time because I'm no longer on the machine. I'm no longer on the conveyor belt. I've removed myself. So to me, I don't know what you think, but that's the fundamental underlying pivot or fork for most brokers is, am I a true entrepreneur? And I get my thrill and pleasure in life from seeing what I can build, right?
Yeah.
Or am I a wannabe entrepreneur? But I actually find out, you know what? I prefer the security and comfort of being in the machine, and I'm happy with a cap on what I can build. That's fine by me. Right? What do you think? Like to me, spending my whole life in this industry, that's underneath all of this. That's the fundamental driver of whether you go one way or the other. And I think the challenge for brokers is most brokers don't really know themselves. They don't find out the answer to this question
Mm.
until they get there. What's the proverb? The parachute doesn't open till you jump off the cliff. And I think it's a little bit like that with entrepreneurism. You don't really find out whether you love being an entrepreneur until you get there.
Yeah, that's 100% correct, Ash. Getting off the tools, great concept, but If our listeners haven't listened to last week, I think that is an essential to this week. As you said, why do you want to get off the tools? It's like last week's discussion, talking about building a business, going bigger, wanting to write more loans, just bigger and better, but with no understanding of why you want that, can run into problems. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head in that a lot of people think they want to build a big business and it looks great and there's all the accolades and awards and money and freedom. But unless you've gone about it, or hopefully if you're smarter and you use advisors who have gone through it and can help you navigate it, you kind of don't know if you cut out for it or not. And that's why we spend so much time first figuring out what people want and why they're good and what they're good at and the fastest way to get there. Because we don't want to get to this point where we're going, oh, I want to get off the tools so I can blank. It's like, but you loved helping clients. Like you're really great at it. You're a horrible manager. Like, people, they want the freedom and they want the big team, but they don't realize that what they get all their enjoyment from is helping clients. They don't get enjoyment from building and managing a team. And Ash, how many, I don't know, maybe top of the head, all the clients we've worked with, can you think of as a percentage, the pure great entrepreneur that is great at managing people and loves showing up to do that, versus the number of our clients that we've worked with over the years that think they want to do that, but really they just love helping people and they sort of see this shiny star as what they think they want, but it's not for them.
It's a great question, really great question. And look, I'm probably going to be out with this, but my instinctive reaction is less than 20%, probably more than 10%. So, it might be 10 to 15%. So 1 in 10 who want to be an entrepreneur, who want an open-ended opportunity to build a significant business and be a true entrepreneurial business builder. I would say 9 out of 10 that start that journey end up in a different direction. And that's not a bad thing, right? This is all about self-discovery. And I really, really want to emphasize this point. To me, the building blocks of building a successful business that works with or without you are not complicated. We've formalized it very well, James. I can say that in all honesty. Over the years, we have formalized the methodology and the steps to build a really successful, high volume business that is scalable and leverageable. However, where the real work is working with human beings to help them on the journey of figuring out what they actually want, what they're good at versus what they thought they were good at, what they enjoy versus what they thought they enjoyed, and then helping them to tie that into their journey in life. Because at the end of the day, that's what drives business success, not necessarily writing loans, not managing people. It's you know, how does doing this align with my life? So I would say to your question, it's probably about 10%. And that's not because people are more or less competent per se. I think it's because 9 out of 10 people generally, the true entrepreneurial life is not for them.
Mm.
They want a cut down version of it. I want a little bit of entrepreneurial life, but not the full enchilada, right? So how do I achieve that?
Ooh, but Ash, I don't know if there is a middle ground, the entrepreneur, like that half entrepreneur. I don't know if that even exists because to be a business owner, and no, maybe you see where we're going with this, but like to be that entrepreneur, you need to almost be living a little bit on the edge. Like you need to accept and want uncertainty and risk and all or nothing type of attitude. Like a lot of entrepreneurs, they will start something from nothing, all or nothing it. I think the mentality of a lot of brokers is a lot more conservative than that. And yes, there are some very smart, business-minded people that are ambitious. But the default I see is a lot of real conservative behavior, even from those that seem ambitious, like wanting a certain amount of money in the bank before going to step 2, wanting a certain number of leads, doing things slowly and methodically, which is actually a very good trait to have in business. But yeah, I think a lot don't really have that innate, I'm going to take the risk This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to back myself. That true entrepreneurial sort of spirit is, yeah, probably 5-10% at most, I
Yeah,
think, in this industry.
yeah, yeah, and that probably is consistent across all industries and life in general. I mean, you see people who might spend money on buying a franchise of a cleaning business or this business or that business. And the reason that most people pay over the odds for a franchise style business is because they want the attributes or they want the benefits of being an entrepreneur, but they don't want the life of being an entrepreneur. So what I'll do is I'll buy a business where I've just got to work hard and follow somebody else's methodology, right?
Yep.
So I want the attributes of entrepreneurship, which is uncapped income, control of my own time, a saleable asset, off the tools, to go back to the sort of headline of this episode. But then it's not true entrepreneurship, because true entrepreneurship is really creating something from the ground up. It's not buying someone else's model and then working inside it.
Mm.
So that's really where the line, and not one is not better than the other, let me say. And this is really, again, we're working with people, and I always put forward this in these discussions, right, James, is part of the benefit of working with a coach and mentor and advisor team is, accountability, resources, methodology to follow that's proven. It's very valuable. But a lot of the value is spitballing with people who've done it and who now have an independent opinion of the life and the scar tissue that you have to develop on the journey, what it's actually like. And I think that's where there's a lot of benefit to work with someone who's done it before, because it allows you to draw insights that you wouldn't have otherwise had, that you'd be guessing at.
Yeah.
And then you find out whether it's for you or not. So this whole getting off the tools, James, for me, it's a very important topic, because it really speaks to ultimately where you're going with your business. And do I want to build a business that survives beyond me, or do I want to build a business that really I'm self-employed? I bought myself a job,
Yeah.
right? So that's about making a good income that you can perhaps buy investment properties and build wealth, as opposed to, and I can only say this from my own experience and from that 5 or 10% of the people that we've worked with, the ones that go on to true entrepreneurship, it's just who they are. It's just what they love doing, right? They just love building business, right? It's not about writing loans, although they enjoy writing loans. It's not about managing people, although they're quite okay at managing people. It's about the fulfillment and thrill and joy that comes from imagining something and then getting to work and creating it and seeing it work. It's like giving birth and then nurturing it to growth. I don't know. That's where the true entrepreneur emerges, right?
So true. Yeah. I love the fact that this episode has ended up almost a little bit like last week's. And for our listeners, a lot of the times we have these episodes where it says one thing and it's really another. And we do that in a way on purpose, because it's kind of like we're short-circuiting your brain, listeners. We know you're oftentimes looking for something, wanting something, but this is the message you need to hear. Getting off the tools, it starts with, why are you even looking to do that? The how, Ash, I'd say the how is, that's the easy, simple bit. If we think, yeah, but how do I get off the tools? Well, really, if you think about it, the definition of tools is it's tasks. You just have to replicate yourself. That's the, I would say it's simple, not easy. The ABCs of getting off the tools is define what it takes to do what you do and help customers. How do we get them in the door, help them and keep them, and all of the stuff in between? That's pretty easy. It's task, and then systems and people to do said tasks. It's not hard. Relatively simple. It takes skill and persistence and a mindset, and definitely skills. So it's simple, not easy, but I think it does definitely start with the decision to do it. Like, if you've decided to get off the tools and you have a reason to do it, then there's a number of different ways to go about it. But essentially, it's always going to result in, how do I make it so that
I'm out of a job. What do I do? How do I do it? How do I get someone else to do this? And in my mind, if you're in the camp of building a business and not just a supported broker, the sooner you can get off the tools and out of the machine, the better. Because that's the one limiting factor of most mortgage businesses we've seen is that middle ground, like we talked about last week, Ash. Those brokers and business owners, they stay in the machine too long and they don't extract themselves to manage the team, drive the front end and keep it growing. They stay in there too long. And maybe that's because they secretly love it and really should stay there and really should just stay there. But like if you're in the camp of wanting to build a big business, you need to get out of the machine and out of delivery as soon as possible. And that's where you need to knock on our door to work out what the fastest way to do that for you is, without making mistakes. But yeah, it starts with the decision.
We like to chuckle, and excuse us, listeners and viewers, for the chuckle. It's a serious topic, but the reason that we chuckle is because we see it so often, right? We see it so often. And, over the years of working with a lot of people, James, I often contemplate this and we have this discussion. Why does any 10 given brokers, given exactly the same aspirations, I want a business where it gets me off the tools and I can have a lot more free time and da-da-da, and we give them the same resources to 10 different people and you get 10 different results? You've got to ask yourself, why is that? Is it because the resources are different? No. Is it because the coaching is different? No. It's because the people are different, right? Different people go about things in a different way and have different motivations, different limitations, different mindsets, different levels of honest relationships with themselves where they can, speak openly. And probably I would sum that up with the following statement, and that is, and I hope this makes sense. I would say out of, I don't know, let's call it 300 or 400 people, James, where I have asked the question about, you want to build a business where you've got more free time. Why is that? What are you going to do down the track? I would say I could count on one hand people who've actually got an answer to that. As amazing as that sounds, very few people come to the table going, you know what, I've actually thought about that and here's my plan. When I get all my time back, I'm going to do this. I'm going to travel. I'm going to hire more people. I'm going to focus on this, and this is how I'm going to spend my time when I'm off the tools. So have a think about it. Have a think about, well, if I did have my time back and the business was profitable, what would I do? Would I like to stay in the business, or would I be bored? Yeah. Have a think about that. Because I know for me, James, when I sold my business probably the first or second time, 25 years ago now, and I thought, okay, I'm going to retire now. I had given no thought to what I would do other than I've got all this time free now. And I thought, jick. And it really blew up in my face. Like I had a bit of money and I had all this time and I had no idea what I was going to do. And it lasted about a week. So my learning from that is you need to give thought and get some input on what life looks like when you've got this time free. I call it, this is the part of the whole succession and exit thinking. Doesn't mean you're going to sell the business. It just means thinking about, well, if I get what I'm asking for, what am I going to do with it? Right? There's no point saying I want to get off the tools and have all this time if you don't know what you're going to do with it.
Yeah, mate, that's like, you spend 5 or 10 years building a mortgage business so you can get off the tools and go sit on the beach, and then you sit around thinking, maybe I'll help some clients. Maybe I'll write a few loans. And it's like, well, why'd you go through, listeners, this is serious stuff. It's like what we talked about last week. Why would you go through that 5 and 10 years of building the business and the late nights and the stress and the weekends and the low profit and the uncertainty, only to get to a point where you just want to help some clients anyway? Well, you should have just been doing that all along. I think we mentioned this on a recent episode too, Ash, the story of the fisherman. I think you told it. I heard it from somewhere else. It's the broken record story, of course, of the fisherman that goes out and catches 2 fish, one to feed the family and one to pay for the boat and stuff like that for the day. And then this business person comes up to him and says, I've got a great idea for you. We're going to go out and we're going to catch 3 fish, and then we're going to hire additional fishermen so we get additional boats, blah, 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 to eventually get to the point where the person as the business owner can just, you know, sit around and eat fish and be with their family all day. Like, that's what he does anyway.
And that's what the fisherman says. Well, I'm already doing that.
Yeah, he goes out fishing to catch 2 fish, one to pay for the boat and whatever, sells one and eats the other one and spends the rest of the day just with his family doing what he wants. And then this entrepreneur, comes along, blah, 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 let's do this and that. And you'll ultimately get to the same position. So
it's a good parable, actually. I like it.
Poorly told.
Hopefully the message is clear, right?
Yeah.
Right. You go through all of this pain so you can have your time back, so you can do more of what you're already doing now. So this whole, you don't know really whether you want something until it's available, right? And you discover your limitations and you know what you actually enjoy doing. And I think a lot of brokers actually find out, I actually enjoy broking. You know, it's all of the downstream stuff, the stress, the problems, you know, dealing with the people, the lenders, the delays, the exceptions, you know, industry issues. That's the stuff that drives me bonkers. The actual core of it, helping a few customers, i.e. catching 2 fish,
Yeah,
while I'm helping people, one for the family and one for me, and then the rest of my time's free. Look, that's a great life. The only thing I would add is, you know, you've got no fish in the fridge in case the fish stop biting. So I'm adding added version. So sometimes you want to have a few fish stored in the freezer.
This is very true. Listeners, I hope you've enjoyed this episode because, and maybe, I don't know, hopefully we've almost given you permission to do your own thing and to run your own path. Like, you don't have to be the next big thing. You don't have to build a business. You don't have to do, like, you do what you want to do, right? And I think that's the key message of this, you know, Ash, like, I have lots of conversations, you have lots of conversations with brokers. I want to do this, I want to go bigger, it's time, I'm looking for an exit in 5 years, blah, blah. And it always comes back to why you're doing that. Like, have you ever thought just do version A and just retire in 3 years? Why go through all that headache? Like, so hopefully we've given our listeners permission to stay in their own lane, figure out what they want, and just what's the easiest way to go about getting that. You know, working hard and achieving big things is great. There's a lot of merit in that. But there's nothing wrong with doing things as easy and fast as possible too. So maybe at the very least, Ash, we haven't talked a ton about getting off the tools today, but maybe at the very least, we've given our listeners, you know, permission to stop chasing stuff that they might not enjoy.
Well, look, I disagree with one part of what you just said, right? And that is, this is actually all about getting off the tools. Right? I think what we haven't talked about is how to do it. We've talked about that often enough in other episodes, right? You guys back through 207 previous episodes, you know, come into our website, talk to us. We'll tell you everything you need to know about how to get off the tools. Yep. So don't look for some miracle that you've never seen before in how to get off the tools. As you said, James, that's not the difficult part. The difficult part is why you're doing it. Well, always that's the difficult part, right? Yeah. So it is all about getting off the tools. I think that we're not having a discussion. Episode 208 is not about how to do it, right? We talk about that a lot elsewhere. Episode 208, you know, getting off the tools is about, well, why are you doing it? You know, is it so you can drive growth in the business? Well, why are you wanting to do that? So this is really, I hope everyone takes out of it. It is about getting off the tools from a different perspective about, you know, why you're doing it.
I'm glad we hit the mark there because, and I think you're right. To sum up, if I could wait one more comment, if we think about achievement, like as 100%, we and the rest of the industry do a great job with teaching the 99.9%. How to get off the tools, build a business, write more loans, marketing. But there's so much help and advice, and there's lots of great coaches available and a lot of ambitious brokers. I think that 99.9% past this first point is pretty well available, right? 200 episodes. We've got our website. There's coaches. There's aggregate. There's a lot of people to help. But that point one is so rarely considered that the rest of it becomes pointless. Like if you don't know what you're going for and why, everything else is pointless. Like, and I think that very first point one is probably should be given 99.9% of the effort and attention, but it's given virtually none. So, but in our world, of course, everything revolves around that. So, yeah.
Well, we spend a lot of time, and I think it's one of the difference of working. Well, certainly the way we work, James, is we really get to know the people we work with, so we can understand, and help you make the right decisions. The actual resources in the process, as you said, James, that's pretty common. Like, across most advice and coaching in the industry, wherever you get it from. Yes, there's variations, some better, some worse, but ultimately it's the same thing. Hire people, get off the tools, build systems, feed the machine, repeat, right? How you do that is, step by step over time. We can teach you that as well or better than anybody. However, actually knowing you as a person and understanding how this fits with where you're going, or if you don't know the answer to that, helping you figure it out, that's the difference.
100%. Well, we've got some good resources on this very stuff. So wherever you're at in your journey, listeners, we have the ability to help you. So knock on the door, let's have a chat. Let's leave it there, Ash. I think it's been a good conversation in and around getting off the tools. Hopefully we've hit some marks with some more of the experienced and tenured brokers specifically, because this is where we see this becoming the biggest issue. So yeah, let's leave it there for this week. We've got 2 more episodes coming up this month, all about driving growth and business building type stuff. So listeners, stay tuned for that. And I guess I'll see you next week, Ash.
Yeah, great discussion, James. I shall see you next week.
All right. Bye for now, everybody.